Ukraine, it would be the start of World War III. But that new sanctions against Russia are crushing their economy. As cities across Poland say they're full of Ukrainian refugees, the mayor of Poland's second largest city, Krakow, is now asking for help to move Ukrainian refugees to less populated areas of the country. In the capital of Warsaw, the mayor there is pleading for international help to relocate them. This has been a special report, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I'm Scott Carr.
And I'm Susanna Palmer in the Bloomberg newsroom. A sure sign of spring. The clocks spring forward overnight tonight, but we still have winter weather to deal with. And here's Bloomberg meteorologist Scott Kaplan.
We'll have snow across the region this afternoon. Any lingering rain will go over to snow by early afternoon. We'll have an inch or so of accumulation in the city, mainly on grassy surfaces. A few inches possible north and west. It'll be breezy through the afternoon. Winds will start to diminish tonight as skies clear out, setting up a partly sunny and chilly Sunday with temperatures only in the middle to upper 30s.
Bloomberg meteorologist Scott Kaplan. Apple shares fell yesterday with the iPhone maker suffering its longest weekly losing streak since May. We get more about that from Bloomberg's Charlie Pellet.
Tech stocks have come under pressure this year on concern growth will slow as the Fed starts raising interest rates. Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which caused commodity prices to jump. Inflation is also weighed on. Charlie Pellet, Bloomberg Radio.
And one from the Trying to Stay One Step Ahead file. As lawmakers worldwide ratchet up pressure on some of Russia's elite as a way to pressure President Vladimir Putin, they've also pointed to black super yachts, luxury real estate, and other signs their efforts are working. But corporate filings show Russian billionaires shifting ownership stakes, ditching board roles, and giving up control. Well, they still can. Take the case of Russia's fourth richest person, Alexei Mordashov. The European Union had sanctioned the billionaire on February 28th, but by that time, Mordashov had already made moves of his own. The field tycoon taking control of a roughly $1.1 billion stake in London-based mining company Nord Gold to his wife, Marina. Other rich Russians are similarly trying to dodge sanctions. Global news, 24 hours a day on air and on Bloomberg Quick Take, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Susanna Palmer. This is Bloomberg.
This is Bloomberg Business and Sports with Michael Barr, Scarlett Fu, and Mike Lynch from Bloomberg Radio. Thanks for joining us on the Bloomberg Business of Sports show, where we explore the big money issues in the world of sports. I'm Michael Barnes.
I'm Scarlett Fu.
And I'm Mike Lynch.
Oh my, baseball is back. The MLB lockout ended this past week when the Divided Players Association voted to accept management's offer to salvage a 162-game season that will start April 7th. Let's continue our conversation now with Pedro Mora. He's the National Baseball writer, Fox Sports, and author of How to Beat a Broken Game, The Rise of the Dodgers in a League on the Brink. One change you're going to see on the field. We got rid of that hootenanny in the extra innings. They will start a guy on second base. Well, we're not going to do that anymore. That experiment, we tried it, and Pedro, I guess, they said, okay, we'll scrap that.
Yeah, they certainly did. I can't say I ever felt that strongly about it, but I know plenty of people in baseball really did. And, it was instituted to shorten games during the 2020 pandemic season. When players were tired, they were doing a condensed schedule. The idea was that you didn't want games to be lasting 5-6 hours for COVID reasons, really, like for players to be in the dugout for that long and whatnot. So the idea that it was going to last was just not certain in any way. So it's nice to get some clarity.
Yeah, but for non-COVID reasons, you also don't want the games to last forever either, and that's one of the biggest complaints against MLB games is that they drag on and on and on to the point where people just get tired of it. I mean, it's kind of the polar opposite of a football game, which, just gets more exciting. One thing I noticed in the agreement is this 12-team postseason, and this is something the owners wanted. Actually, they wanted 14 teams to be in the postseason, but they compromised on 12. Does that even matter when people already think games are too long and too boring?
That's a good question. I think, maybe you think the game's too long and too boring in the regular season, so you're ready to tune in come October, right? I can see that, and there's direct money to be made for Major League Baseball from ESPN for expanding this playoff field to 12 teams. So I would say that's really the primary concern for the teams. They're going to make more money by playing more playoff games. What I would argue quickly, Scarlett, is that it's not so much about the those lanes of games that bothers fans, and that, I say this as a person who is bothered by the way baseball is going, but it's the pace of play.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way that the balls take a lot longer to go into play. There's just a lot more dead time. And so it's not that, the idea that the extra inning second base runner rule really, helps the game speed along. It never did that much for me. It never really took away anything. But the idea is, by then, at least there's some tension.
So I'm looking at this pace of play, pitch clock, and the shift, or something, 3 issues and more that are going to be addressed next year. Is that correct? So they're off the table for this CBA. This is going to be a 7-person committee. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And it's, it's being said that it is happening in 2023, and that's a little short of what I think the agreement actually says. The agreement gives the Major League Baseball the right to impose those things in 2023, which it's assumed that they will, but they haven't said that they will, and they still, reserve the right to not. It's by no means a guarantee. They just have the opportunity now to more quickly institute rules in.
Pedro, I got to ask you, if Rob Manfred was a stock, would his price be on the upswing or still in a downtrend? And I ask this because there's a lot of ill will that resulted from the lockout. I mean, as much as Rob Manfred positioned himself as the person who kind of helped shepherd a deal along, he was serving at the pleasure of the owners. He represents the owners here, and there was a lot of mistrust from the players' side towards the commissioner, who basically had to call up all his legal skills and use his legal acumen to push them into a corner and say that they, basically put him in a position where they had to negotiate. Would players see him as a rising stock or a falling stock?
With the players, I think we've certainly seen him as a falling stock. I think there's no doubt in that. Although he did say on Thursday that he plans to build a better relationship with them. He's been on the job for a long time and he hasn't yet. So I think a lot of the players will be, understandably skeptical of that. Someone deciding to change that several years into their tenure. I would say overall, though, you have to say that he's at least, he might be a rising stock. It's not staying stagnant. It's not, he survived a sell-off at this point. I think the reality is, we used to think of baseball commissioners as, operating the best interest of baseball, right? The idea that's totally been debunked, and the idea is it's certain that they operate the best interest of the owners, their bosses, functionally.
So quick follow-up to that, Pedro, yes or no question. Marv Manfred's contract is up 2024. Does he get an extension, yes or no?
You would think yes.
Good enough for me.
Up next on the show. Oh, by the way, look for all those. You're going to see new advertisements on the uniforms now.
And helmets.
Yeah. Someone's going to be sponsored by STV. I don't know what it is. I'm kidding. Up next on the show, stay tuned for more of our conversation with Pedro Mora, national baseball writer for Fox Sports. And we'll talk about his new book. It's a great book, How to Beat a Broken Game, The Rise of the Dodgers in a League on the Brink. That's straight ahead on Bloomberg Business of Sports. I'm Michael Barr. You can follow me on Twitter at Big Bar Sports.
I'm Scarlett Fu, and I'm on Twitter as well, at Scarlett Fu.
I'm Mike Lynch on Twitter at LynchyWCDB.
And hey, don't forget to catch our podcast, people. That's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays on all your podcast platforms right here on Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio. The news you need to start your market day on Bloomberg Daybreak.
This is Karen Moscow.
And I'm Nathan Hager. Join us Monday morning on Bloomberg Daybreak.
We have market reaction to the war between Russia and Ukraine with Dennis Garvin, the former publisher of the Garvin Letter.
How will President Biden confront war in Ukraine and inflation? We'll check in with Bloomberg Government's Emily Wilkins.
Bloomberg Daybreak, weekday mornings at 5 on Bloomberg 1130, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com.
As the former head of aerospace giant Boeing's internal training program, Norma Clayton is a longtime champion for advanced manufacturing. That's why she's a major supporter of NJIT and the university's drive to develop leading-edge skills and technologies demanded by industry.
The technology curve as we know it today is about every 6 months. And so for a university like NJIT, they have to stay on the cutting edge. And one of the things that they have launched is this makerspace, a simulated operational environment of what the student is going to experience when they leave the classroom and go work in industry. They work on projects that include problems that come directly from corporations. I was talking to one of the instructors there, and he said, "So what do you think?" I said, "I feel like I'm in the factory of the future." And that's what you want. You want students to see that this is exactly what you're going to be doing when you leave here.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology, Learn more at njit.edu.
How are financial services firms managing in this new reality? Claire Southern-Niello, Managing Director at BNY Mellon Pershing, explains.
If the current times have taught us anything, it's the critical role that technology plays in client relationships. Global conditions have created a business imperative for firms to digitally transform the way they meet client needs and the way they work. Pershing's industry-leading technology enables you to adapt to the evolving ways your clients want to do business, now and in the future. It can help you build an even stronger digital client experience in a simpler, smarter, and safer environment. We have worked with clients of every size to transform their business. Pershing gives you the foundation to stand on, plus our unique perspective to help you run your business even during the most uncertain of times. We help you consider everything.
To learn more about how Pershing can help you transform your business, visit Pershing.com. Pershing LLC, member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC.
At Commonwealth Financial Network, our journey began with a single purpose: to give independent financial advisors the freedom to do business their way. Today, our mission has evolved to supporting more than 2,000 small business owners who serve nearly 500,000 families and individuals. Real people with real goals and dreams on the path to financial independence. Where will your journey take you? Visit us at commonwealth.com. Commonwealth Financial Network. Member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
The Audi Q5 represents everything we've learned from building one of the world's most progressive vehicles. With forward-thinking technology like standard rear cross traffic assist, this car was born to non-conform. The Audi Q5 is here. Progress is never blending in.
Don't let someone else drive off in the Audi model you've always wanted. Visit your tri-state area Audi dealer to get behind the wheel of yours today. Or visit AudiOffers.com for more information.
Inovalon is a leading provider of cloud-based platforms, empowering data-driven healthcare for insurance companies, physicians, pharmacies, and pharmaceutical companies. Inovalon. Data has a story to tell. We give it a voice. INOVALON.com.
Now, Bloomberg traffic and weather. Rough going because of the weather. We have a couple of crashes closing some roadways. 27 shut down northbound into Prospect Avenue in Edison because of a crash. 280 eastbound between exits 14 out to Martin Luther King Boulevard closed because of a crash there. You do want to use caution. We have high winds, and as a result, the upper deck of Arizona Bridge closed in both directions. Now, the GW Bridge, you're okay. Lincoln and Holland Tunnel, so traffic troubles. The crash on the BQE westbound the Williamsburg Bridge out to Kent Avenue. An accident there. A couple of lanes are blocked. The Bloomberg 11-303-day weather forecast. Winter weather advisory in effect until 7. Wind advisory in effect until 4 this afternoon. Breezy rain, possibly heavy, changing to snow, ending late in the day. Accumulation and inch or less in the city, 1 to 3 north and west. Tonight, clearing. Tomorrow, sunshine, some afternoon clouds, high 35 to 40. And on Monday, increasing afternoon clouds, high 55 with a bus ride in and out of the city. Bloomberg now Sports.
In Memphis, the Knicks' three-game winning streak ends as they're beat by the Grizzlies 118-114. John Moran scores 15 of his 37 in the fourth. Julius Randle with 36. Islanders beat the Jets 5-2. The Rangers skate in Dallas. The Devils host Anaheim. Clayton Kershaw stays with the Dodgers on a one-year deal. Free agent left-hander Carlos Rodon agrees to a 2-year contract with the Giants. After Friday's rain, the first round resumes at the Players' Championship. At 600, Tommy Fleetwood shares a lead with 2 others. That's a Bloomberg Sports Update. I'm Joel Stern.
World markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at Bloomberg Quick Take. This is Bloomberg 1130. Now, a global news update. This is a special report. The Russian invasion of Ukraine. President Biden says the U.S. has a vital obligation to defend NATO allies. Speaking to House Democrats Friday, Biden said he talks to the Ukrainian president daily and thanked U.S. lawmakers for supporting sanctions against Russia for its invasion. Biden also announced an executive order curtailing imports from Russia.
We're banning imports of goods from several signature sectors of the Russian economy, including seafoods, vodka, and diamonds.
The president said the second that the U.S. would send in any sort of American forces to fight in Ukraine, it would be the start of World War III. But that new sanctions against Russia are crushing their economy. As cities across Poland say they're full of Ukrainian refugees, the mayor of Poland's second largest city, Krakow, is now asking for help to move Ukrainian refugees to less populated areas of the country. In the capital of Warsaw, the mayor there is pleading for international help to relocate them. This has been a special report, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I'm Scott Carr.
This is the Bloomberg Business of Sports show, where we explore the big money issues in the world of sports. I'm Michael Barr.
I'm Scarlett Cove.
And I'm Mike Lynch.
And let's continue our conversation now with Pedro Moore. He's the national baseball writer for Fox Sports, and he has a new book hitting the shelves at the end of the month, How to Beat a Broken Game, the rise of the Dodgers in a league on the brink. And hey, kids, remember this? A suicide squeeze? Now, I'll give you the definition because we don't see it that much anymore. A squeeze play in which the runner runs all out at the pitch without knowing whether the batter will contact the ball. Remember that, old schoolers? Why in the world, Pedro? What happened to the game? Everything has changed. Everything is going long ball now.
Yeah, the game is optimized for efficiency, right? And with that comes the downside. It's funny to see, how the optimization, the excessive, endless, and focus on optimization has taken away a lot of the joy in the game. At first, and I was totally not. I did not see this at first. When Moneyball came out, when teams started to operate like this, it was, as a young fan, for me, this was the dream. This was you follow the numbers, you follow the data, you do what they say. And then you realize slowly but surely over the years, the games get longer, the fielders get into better position, nothing happens on the field, you're watching just pitches, and it slowly starts to dawn on you that the game has gotten progressively less interesting just in the span of a couple decades. And that's what we try to chronicle here, is like how this happened, why it happened, and whether the best teams at optimizing are responsible for this in some ways, and they are. They're not the only ones. Obviously, this is, as we've just been talking about, this is a business for the owners operating the sport, and they're doing quite well at it. But there's a sense that there's an increasing sense that the optimization that the leaders of the sport are leading has had significant negative effects on how the game is played and how fans, especially casual fans, watch it.
All right, so I'm Commissioner Rob Manfred, and I have just designated Pedro Moore to be my czar of how to fix a broken game. And I'm commissioning you to come up with 3 suggestions by March 15th to fix a broken game. What would they be?
Ooh, 3. I think you're getting a lot more.
Yeah, let's go with 3, just to simplify.
Yeah, I get that. The first would be banning or significantly changing the defensive shift, which would force players which would allow players, I guess I should say, to put the ball into play in ways that would allow them to reach base, at first base rather than trying to hit a home run. I think you want to decrease the incentive to hit a homer as much as possible.